Okay. All right. Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday and happy belated Thanksgiving. I hope everyone had a great holiday. For us, those that joined us here at the community, we had a great lunch. And those that came can know that we had so much food, and it was such a great experience. There was a moment, and I actually want to give a little special shout. I don't think, is Aiko-san here? Okay, thank you, Aiko-san. She spearheaded the food organization, and then I helped prep food. But there was a moment where I actually was concerned that maybe we weren't going to have enough food as the numbers were growing, and I was thinking, oh man, 35, 40 people. But then, if you were there, you know there was so much. And there was sushi and ribs and pasta dishes. So, anyways, thank you for everybody that brought something and contributed. It really made it a great experience. And I'll be showing a little bit of pictures also. But yeah, it was a great time fellowshipping and just gathering. And then I went from, oh yeah, yes, round of applause. And I went from that lunch to a Thanksgiving dinner. So I did that with our Paling side of the family. And then I also did the mistake of scheduling my doctor's appointment the following morning. So, and anybody that knows that the first thing they do is they weigh you. And I'm thinking, I was like, oh, so here I am explaining, I might be a little bit heavier. It's not baby. It's probably like Thanksgiving. But anyways, the timing wasn't great. But anyways, it was great Thanksgiving. So thank you for everyone that came and had a great holiday. Yes. So this week, whenever it's my turn to give the message, I'm always kind of thinking, what's going on in our community? What's the season? And naturally, being at the end of November and December, I started thinking about the holidays, right? Probably a lot of you think about them now. We just had Thanksgiving, and we're just a few weeks away from Christmas. And especially now with the snow, it really feels like Christmas is really coming up soon. And so I started thinking about, okay, like what comes to mind? And a lot of words that come to mind are always, generosity and gratitude and, happiness or those kind of words. But I was really thinking about when I think of the holidays and I think about what that really means, two words really come to the forefront for me. And I think about love and I think about family. And in our community, being Minnesota Family Church, we do talk a lot about family and the importance of building strong families and, the different relationship dynamics within the family. So, maybe it's parent-child relationships, the importance of that, or husband and wife relationships, or siblings relationships, those kind of relationships. But today, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit deeper on the idea of family and and I think this is actually really important also, but it's also the family that we build outside of our homes, outside in the world, in maybe our neighborhoods or within this own community right here. So I want to kind of talk about that family. And that's kind of what prompted my sermon title of Building a Village. Okay. So the two questions that come to mind when I think about this topic is, first of all, like, what is a village? Like, what are we trying to build here? And how do we build it? Okay, so most people know what a village is. I actually had to kind of look it up because I know what a village is, but, and I think of, like, Ben's like, I think of Amish, or, anyways. But, we think of, like, little groups of people in different places. But it's because actually a village is smaller than a town. So if you grew up in a small town, you can kind of have an idea. But yeah, it was just, especially back in the day. Now we don't have as many villages. However, if you do drive from here to Canada, you will see a lot of villages. And a lot of times I'm like to Ben, what? Do you think this person actually lives here? Or is this like their, vacation home? He's like, no, I mean, look, they live here. And I'm thinking, why would you live here? It's so like in the middle of nowhere. But anyways, there's a lot of people that live in these little villages, and what it is, it's just a group of families that live together in this, rural area, and especially back in the day, there's always like there's the baker and the farmer, the shoemaker, and things like that, right? And they work together, and they're their own family. They know each other's business. They know Joe Blow down the street, and they're a big family, right? And so now we don't really have a lot of those. A lot of us live in suburbs or in the city, and so we don't have that experience. But there is something that's really beautiful about having that kind of community, right? And we talk now, say, oh, my village. And we've replaced the word community even for a village. I know I even say that, like, this is my village. We have the expression, it takes, a village to raise a child even, right? And so this idea of village is a family. It's a group of people that you can really count on. And so even though we don't live in these little towns, there is something beautiful of having that kind of village. And I really believe that God wanted every single person to feel like they were a part of some type of village, that our lives were meant to be experienced with a bunch of people and to have that kind of family, village feeling. And that's how we are supposed to, live life and experience and grow towards. So, when you think about the divine principle, right, we talk about the four-position foundation, right? So we talk about the family dynamic. There's like God at the top, there's husband and wife, and then there's children, right? And that's the four-position foundation in the divine principle in our scriptures. And then after that, then it goes from expanding that unity centered on God to like society, nation, and world, right? Like that's the ultimate goal, is to be able to not just have this wonderful dynamic in your own family, but to be able to expand it beyond your family walls and go and experience it throughout your society, nation, and world. And that is where it starts. So the first question, right? Like, how are we, what is a village? What does that look like? And now we're going to talk about how do we build it. So, I really believe that no one is ever meant to live alone, right? There's many studies out there that show that we don't do well alone as human beings. There's a lot of like health issues and all sorts of things, but we're not meant to be alone, right? We're in this world, we're supposed to be with a bunch of people. So, okay, so then how do we build this kind of village? Let's talk about this here. So, my paper's all in order here. So I was, I was saying, so how do we build it? We know God wants us to experience it. So it's quite simple. And I think a lot of times we think that this is a complicated matter, like, okay, where do I start? How do I do this? But all you have to really do to start building your village, to be a part of a village, is to just start loving people. All you have to do is just really start loving people, loving somebody else beyond your family, somebody else, that next person maybe beside you, within your own church community, within your own neighborhood. All you have to do is just start loving people and be really good at it. So in the Chunseongyang I was reading, and sorry if it's kind of small back here, I should have made it a little bit bigger, but in the Chunseongyang, in one of our scripture books, it says on page 396, it says, "You should know that the path of life for humankind lies in the expansion of a family type of love to the relationships amongst all people. We should love elderly people like our own grandfather and grandmother, and middle-aged people like our own father and mother. Furthermore, we should love those who look older than us like our elder brother and sister, and love those who look younger than us like our own younger brother or sister," from our founder, Reverend Sam Young-moon. I love that. I feel like if you were to think about what the kingdom of heaven's supposed to look like, I think of that. I think if we are able to really look at every single individual, if they were older than us or younger than us, as our younger, sibling or older sibling or grandparents, I mean, what a beautiful world it really would be, And so I've been actually really I wouldn't say impressed, but just like really proud of our community. So in this past month, maybe a lot of you guys know, because we've kind of, even Patty mentioned in a few situations, but we've had a lot of different situations within our own little community, whether it was health problems or whatever it was. And I just have been feeling so moved by the response and everyone's input to be able to help in all these situations. So this one's the kind of the lighthearted one. I want to go back to the Thanksgiving lunch that we had. See, it was so great. For those that missed it, it was so fun. It was a great spread, a lot of happy faces, and we really celebrated together as a community. For those that maybe had relatives that were living far away, out of town, or maybe had their own health issues and couldn't cook up a whole Thanksgiving dinner, but wanted to experience it with people that they love, and it was so great. And we had a lot of good comments and people just feeling really happy. And so I really felt like this is where it starts. Everyone that brought a dish to share, like that's part of being a part of the village, right? Part of a community. And I felt so, it just felt so warm and great. It was great. So thank you everybody that did that. And if you go back, I've been just like reading about this section, and back in the Chunseongi on page 400, it says, your family is a textbook of love. When you see someone of your grandfather's age, you should think that you will love him even more than your own grandfather. When you see someone of your father or mother's age, you should welcome him or her regardless of nationality, or whether he or she is an outside person, or whether he or she is black or white. Right? Sorry, I couldn't remember if I did this on what slide. Okay, I'll just keep going here. When you see a youth, you should love him or her like your own son or daughter. What is the kingdom of heaven? Oh, right here. Sorry, here we go. Love him or her like her own daughter, sorry. Okay, what is the kingdom of heaven? It is the place where you can love the people of the world as you love your family, and such people are the people of the heavenly kingdom. Once again, from our founder, Reverend Sam-Young Moon. So, and I really love that too, this idea of being able to love people and to really like your own family. And so I wanted to talk about the other situation that we had in our community that I really felt really moved by. And I know their family was really moved by, and that's Eugen, okay? So a lot of you know what happened to Eugen, and he got a severe hand injury, right? And so for those that don't really know the situation, is that prior to this injury, just days before, his mom goes to Korea. She's going to be participating in a workshop for a couple months. And then he gets his hand injury. And of course, his dad's trying to juggle work. And the situation, long story short, is that he needs a lot of care, like more than just even what the nurses can provide at the hospital, but almost like a 24-hour care. And right away, this community, which I felt so moved by, responded. And we started a 7-day prayer chain, 24-hour prayer chain. So for anybody that prayed for Eugen, thank you. That's a community, 24-hour prayer chain for him. And then we even had a rotational system of somebody staying with him all night and all day so that he was never alone, so that if he needed water or any kind of food or anything, that he immediately can get that. And he didn't have to worry about having to contact the nurses. Because sometimes the nurses can't get to him for 30 minutes or, because they have other patients, right? But somebody was there. And he felt so cared for during that time. And even to the point that he made this comment that always sticks with me. He made this comment where he said that not for the first time, but he really, really knows that this community loves him. And so, sorry. Whew. But I just, for him, let's give a round for Eugen, and for 2 weeks, and they're hoping that maybe tomorrow he might get discharged, but he's been in the hospital for over 2 weeks trying to really recover from this injury. And that to me is what a village is. That's family, right? And whether you know that it exists or not, or whether you feel a part of it or not, it's here, even in its own community. And yeah, anyway, so that was something that I just really felt really moving. And so, when it comes to love, right? Like, I really feel that, God is love. And he constantly counts on us as people to represent him and spread that love to everybody else. And I really believe that he had put all of us in specific spots to be able to impact people's lives. So it could be right here in our community, it could be right in your neighborhood, it could be at your workplace, it could be anywhere. But I really believe that God has given us that specific gift to be able to touch somebody close by's heart. And I really think that that's principle. The more you give, the more you will receive. And, you don't do it selfishly. Just like, I'm going to keep giving. I just want to give a lot so I could just receive a lot. But naturally, that's just what people will do, and that's how you build it. And then we just have to get really good at it. Sometimes I even feel sometimes really stiff. It's hard to sometimes think of that next person when you feel like you're also kind of going through something. But that's where love will grow, and that's where you will find true happiness and joy, is by the giving. And so if you ever feel at any point alone or stuck, or you feel like, maybe nobody cares or something, I really encourage you to go and reach out to somebody. Go call somebody and ask them how they're doing. Go grab a coffee. Get involved, whether it's just showing up to Sunday service or bringing a snack or bringing something, just getting involved really makes that difference. And just show somebody that you care. And, if you want to be a part of something, if you see a group of people that you want to be a part of, go in there and, say hi and see how you can relate with somebody and how you can, once again, get involved and reach out. And, it'll feel just so good. And, there's a lot of research. There's a research I found at Andrews University, and they just talk about the benefits of for the giver and the receiver when you give. And it includes, and we kind of know this, increased happiness and reduces stress and improves physical health and just social, a stronger social connection. So there's just so much benefits in this concept of just loving people and going out and doing that. And the other thing is that we're nurturing and building this rich environment, right? We're nurturing the soil. My dad always talks about this, nurturing the soil and creating the environment. And that's what we're doing for our next generation. So I feel really blessed and really lucky for my own kids to be able to experience this. In church, they feel so free. Even though there's 100 people or whatever, they feel so free that I know when Kanan goes to his school, he feels scared. And I'm thinking, why are you scared? You are a very outgoing kind of guy. But it's because here is family. And he's been really, my kids, I feel are very lucky to be experiencing that. And through us giving to one another, they want to give. So Ben, so every Saturday, most Saturdays, he does his latte ministry in our neighborhood. And this is our kind of our village thing that we do. And Ben says, okay, who wants a latte? And they place their orders, and Kanan and Emmy are the runners, and they deliver the coffees hot as they're made to all the neighbors. And but he wants to do that. That's something that he looks forward to. That even one day, I wasn't going to even mention this, but one day Emmy showed up in the Anglin's house in the morning, just snuck into their garage, through their garage into their house early morning, didn't tell anybody, just showed up, and Rashawn was still in bed. She was like, Emmy, what are you doing here? She's like, oh, I just wanted to know what kind of coffee you guys wanted. But you know what I mean? This is what they feel. They feel so much like family, right? This village. And I think that's beautiful, and I think that's such a great thing for our kids to experience. And this is what we're all contributing towards, is creating that family environment, right? And so, so once again, how do we build that village? Is we just got to start being good at loving people. And, whether, like I said, this church community or your neighborhood or wherever, workplace, just getting good at just making that leap and figuring out, okay, how can I love that next person? So, in the Bible, okay, well, actually, first, in the Chun Sung Young again, sorry, I was definitely going deep dive in this chapter, but it says, and I love this, there's not a single person who is not moved by the power of love, and there's not a single person who does not become an object partner to the power of love. There's not anyone who would not answer when asked with love. So people are moved by love. And even in the Bible, Hebrew 10:25 says, not giving up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more you see the day approaching. So really uplifting people, encouraging people, loving people, that's what we have to get really good at. And so I kind of, just to wrap it up, want you to just take a moment and just think about someone that that might need a village. You probably know that person, somebody that might need a village, might need a friend. And really think about ways that you can extend your love to them. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It could be a simple gesture, but it goes a really long ways. So I want you to think about it for this week. Who is God asking you to lift up and love as if they were family? Who, especially during this holiday time, I feel like the holidays really kind of trigger people, but during the holiday season, can we extend that love? And let's get good at it. Let's get good at loving people and being good good community members, village members, and let's get involved and build strong, healthy villages. So, thank you, and God bless.